Welcome to The Shift. This is the podcast where we go beyond the headlines and we explore the real inflection points shaping business, technology, and leadership. And this is a special episode. We're recording live from Money 2020 Asia 2026 in Bangkok, right here on the show floor. We're surrounded by cameras, which I've been told to ignore. So I will do that. And we've got a live audience here as well listening in. So Gary, great to have you here on The Shift.
Thank you, Danny. I think lovely to be here. And yeah, in the money pot, right? I was told.
In the money pot.
Yeah, just amazing. Day two, and I think it's been phenomenal so far.
Fantastic. Well, let's start very simple. It would be great if in your own words you could introduce yourself a bit more about your background, what's brought you to Ant, and give us a bit of context about what you're working on today.
Yeah, so for those that haven't, I don't know, right? So my name is Gary. So I'm actually normally based out of Hong Kong. Mm-hmm. Right now, I look after the International Solutions Department for Ant Digital Technologies. And previously, actually, bankers at heart. So mm-hmm. I've worked in an Australian Big Four bank since the start of my career for about 10 plus years before I moved to Alibaba Cloud, working on cloud technology, serving the financial services industry, so setting up the global solutions functions. And then in the most recent year, I came over to Ant Digital Tech. For those who don't know, Ant Digital Tech is tasked with the technology commercialization on behalf of Ant Group to our enterprise customers. And we are also very fortunate to be taking on the AI agenda as well. So we are also tasked with the acceleration of enterprise AI adoption for the various industry that we operate in.
Fantastic. And I guess you've come from, I guess, a different space, and now you're kind of at the forefront of AI and super apps and agentic finance. Do you ever have a think about like what you're privy to now, I guess, at Ant versus maybe what some of the conversations or the lens you had previously?
Yeah, I think quite different, right?
Yeah.
I mean, previously it was inside looking out, right?
Yeah.
So still the same topic, financial and technology, right? Mm-hmm. Actually, and it's very interesting to take a look at the perspective from now going from outside in, mm-hmm. right? Because the view of risk appetite is different. The pace of innovation and transformation is different, the demand is different. Mm-hmm. And that's a very interesting view because it allows me to really get deep into what the customer is thinking, right? What the regulators are thinking.
Yeah.
And then of course, in the most ideal world is to be able to find the appropriate solutions. Now in the topic of AI, of course, with so much interest, right? I think now what we're seeing is it's a very focused discussion now. How do we move AI from a consumer technology mm-hmm. into what I call, broadly speaking, enterprise technology? Mm-hmm. So how does it actually safely land within, for example, the financial institutions? And I think that's where everyone is really putting some hard thinking around.
Yeah, and I guess you've been close to the evolution of super apps and what we're now kind of calling more agentic platforms, as you were touching on. Just interested at a high level, what you see as really kind of fundamentally changing. And is there kind of a commonly held belief maybe you see when you're talking to customers, talking to prospects, that maybe just comes up time and time again and you're just having to actually, no, let's look at it this way. Just interested to get your thoughts.
Yeah, I think the word super app,
yeah,
I think naturally confines what we think of as what I call digital services, right? Mm-hmm. Because like what I shared to the audience yesterday, Danny, if I asked you, how do you consume AI today?
Yeah.
Right? Or how do you consume digital banking? Mm-hmm. Naturally, you'll probably bring out your phone.
Yeah.
You open an app, mm-hmm. and then you start to interact with it, right? Yeah. So customer experience design, by default, we've sort of boxed ourselves in. And that was my old world, right? When I was in the bank, I was serving the digital banking business. And all we think about is the app or websites, yeah. Desktops. But I think right now, it's really quickly shifting. It's almost like, so we need to step back and think about how do we consume digital services? Actually, you wear a pair of glasses, right?
Yeah.
Now, of course, the next question I'll ask you is this a pair of smart glasses?
They're not even prescription. I just think they make me look smarter.
Yeah. Exactly. So, but you can imagine the world as because AI is becoming consumer-grade technology, naturally, as more people use it, the cost of unit goes down.
Yeah.
So sooner, later enough, glasses becomes an access point to digital services. Electronic vehicles. I was making the example yesterday on stage, right? We love Bangkok, but I hate the traffic.
Yeah.
But imagine you're in traffic, but you're in an EV and you can interact with your agent, you can interact with the financial services institution through that. So all of a sudden, if you're an institution looking to deliver the best digital service, can you afford to just think about what I call the traditional channels, right?
Yeah.
But of course, where that channel will shift, I think time will tell us. Consumer behavior will drive that change. But now as an institution, so that's where I think the friction point between what we think about super app originally versus now, actually, it doesn't mean that we should be tying the services to one point of access. So I think that's where it gets very interesting, and it's also the challenge now.
Yeah. I guess as well, if we kind of think maybe more around the uncomfortable part, we're talking AI agents here. So an AI agent, it executes $1 million FX trade or it approves a loan. Who's owning that decision? We talk, there's talk about human in the loop and that kind of thing, but how does that get done? There's a lot. Trust is paramount, right? In financial services, money is very personal. Yes. So I mean, how do you think about that?
Actually, how I think about it is that AI or not AI that orchestrate that transaction, ultimately the accountability still sits with who owns the initiation. So if I allow my agent to execute that trade, it's still me. So you step back and go governance, right? I still execute. Yes, I allowed the agent to automatically execute, but it's still I allowed it to do so.
Okay.
So if it's an institutional execution or if it's an individual execution, whoever allows that execution to occur cannot shy away from the accountability.
Okay.
Right? Because it's almost like, if I think about traditional payment means some people may still write their PIN number on the credit card, and then someone steals the credit card and conduct a fraud. To be honest, it still goes back to the individual who wrote the PIN on the card. Yeah. So that's no different to you allowing AI to execute certain actions on your behalf. It's still on your behalf. I was talking to a regulator recently. I won't name the specific regulator. And the two things that they mentioned, they say, Gary, they really want to help financial institutions accelerate some of the enterprise adoption. But two things really do worry them. One is governance, and the other one is security. So that tells you, actually, there's an openness to leverage, because they see it as the consumer is already driving what the institutions will be heading towards. It's almost like, if you remember, we do a lot of work on our smartphone today. But previously, accessing work through smartphone is like a big no-no. But look, the consumer drove that forward.
And how do you mentioned regulation there? So, the advantage is, with AI, again, we talk a lot about it freeing us up. We're able to do more strategic work, right? I guess maybe we're the last generation that's going to be managing an all-human workforce, right? And it is changing rapidly. How do you balance that kind of speed, I guess, with maybe the complexities of Asia? It's very fragmented, right? There's different regulations, different compliance, depending on where you go. How do you navigate that? How do you think about that? Because you need to innovate, right, in organizations, but they've still got to make sure they're compliant. As we mentioned, right, trust is a big issue. How do you think about that?
Yeah, so let's look at it in two ways, right? So if I look at it from an internal, so if we take a step back, Ant Group is largely a financial services business. Ant Digital Technologies is largely a technology business. So naturally, the risk profile and the risk appetite varies a little bit. But what doesn't what we still really focus on is then, trust, again, it goes back to the organizational design. So what do we expose the AI to learn about? What is accepted as, for example, public sort of information versus private sort of information. So we spend a lot of effort on not only helping ourselves inside and digital technologies, but also helping customers to design so that they know exactly what they allow AI to do or not to do. Because once you have that control, you can start to build the trust because you start to appreciate. Now let's be brutally honest, right? AI is improving every day for sure, but naturally there's also a natural constraint of what they can do, and what they do well and what they don't do as well. So when you design the team, right? So we talked a little bit about the people side. You will start to actually see enterprises setting up teams that will have elements of. There will still be the experts. There will be the AI and the agents that the experts are actively leveraging in the everyday work. But they have very clear governance frameworks set up, auditability, observability, all to make sure that if things go well, of course, everyone's very happy. But we know financial services is all about risk management. So they are already anticipating things may not go well. Even if you hire someone, they can still be the fat finger. I type a Fillmore 0 accidentally, I spill water on the keyboard, for example. So chances are there are risks, but in an area where we are enabling AI to do more for us, the way we look at risk will need to adjust. The way we audit the security will need to adjust. So that's just, I think, part of what good governance and good design can help. Then, of course, it comes to technology as well, and that will naturally follow. Yeah,
and you talked there about, almost it's something that could be engineered, right, in terms of that risk appetite, that way of thinking. How do you do that, though, in a large financial organization? Because as you mentioned, they have to be risk averse, right? They have to make sure their customers are fully protected. It's a deeply personal thing, as we mentioned, right? Money and the transfer of money, and speed is important. But can you almost engineer that in organizations, or does it really just take time? The technology is there, right? But we're seeing, like, for example, retail banks, on the retail side, they might have a chatbot, but they still haven't integrated AI or LLM to that chatbot, right? They're resisting that that change. And they could easily do that, but they have to make sure that it's compliant and it's doing the right things and it's not coming out wacky information to customers. How do you think about that?
To be my point of view, and also I think the enterprise point of view, is actually, that's why I call enterprise AI adoption. It's very different to just doing a pilot, doing a POC. It actually does require quite a lot of upfront thinking, design, bake in the governance, bake in the controls, and then there is the engineering part as well. And actually the most important part I can see, if you get all those elements correct, there's a huge part that I think most of us haven't really looked at it seriously, which is around the quality of the data, or AKA the knowledge that you allow the AI to access to, right? Because I remember back in the days where if we were to spin up a project to do knowledge management or to do data cleanup, it's a very hard business case to stand up. Because the departments will ask you, where's the business benefit? Because they can always say, I can create some external, replication of the data, and we'll do some manual adjustment, and it's all good. But what's happening now, Danny, is the underinvestment in data and knowledge management. They are feeling the pain right now because there's such a big reliance for AI to have good knowledge. So now it's almost like the AI use cases are actually pushing and go, we need to sort out the knowledge and the data, because it's actually driving into hard dollars. Because the dirtier the data, the chances are that AI, you need more intelligence. You need more intelligence to navigate the inconsistency.
So how do I do that? Where do I start?
So this is where it comes to, you need some expertise now, right? It's almost like you need a senior staff member who can just look at the different data sources and go, okay, this one is the source of truth. These are the sort of inconsistent ones. So AI operates similarly because, AI has larger size AI, medium size, lower size, right? They all operate at a different speed. They burn different amounts of token, right? If I can use the token economics to talk about it. So if you're lazy, you will throw everything at the most intelligent model.
Yep.
And if you can afford it, it might be a good way to start. But the reality is, if you were to really embed that into every single day, every single interaction, everything that you're doing is with AI and the agent, you can't afford that. So for simple tasks, and you will have simple tasks, as simple as recognizing the intent of the task itself. That may be an interaction with a large language model. But do you really need like a really big parameter one? No, you just use a small one. Smart enough, real time, tells you exactly, okay, go left or go right. So the design working with multiple different sizes of models, and if you bring in now, the popularity of like the Claude and the Hermes, actually what people are not appreciating is how much token it burns. And if you don't design it properly, you're literally just basically leaving the aircon on 24/7, summer or winter, doesn't matter, right? But you will end up, if you don't have a disciplined way to design what you're using AI for, I can guarantee you that it may get you some results, but you might look at the ROI and go, this doesn't make sense anymore.
Yeah, okay.
It may be better for me to just keep doing what I'm doing in the so-called traditional way.
And I guess we talked about risk. I just want to come back to that a little bit before we move on. You built it successfully, you've got the data pool working and you're using AI agents. Is there a way that you can actually have an AI agent operate with risk appetite? So, so actually it's not holding back in a way, right? It can make calculated decisions because then, that's actually, I think, quite interesting for organizations and, in terms of that integration and, removing humans from the operational side.
Actually, absolutely you can. So actually, you can literally tell the agent you have a very low risk appetite. So therefore, check with the human with every step. Right. Or you can actually tell the agent, say, actually, you're a seasoned operational expert in the field of, FX or payments. You are allowed to just do the straight-through payment, right? However, so literally in the design of the agent itself, you can actually inform what it needs to do and the persona it takes on.
Okay.
And so it's almost like, imagine you're bringing a new employee. You tell, say, look, if anything that falls outside of the SOP, you must escalate. Actually, on an agent design point of view, it's exactly the same. Now, I'm not trying to oversimplify it, and that's why I say, Danny, actually, the discipline must be tied to your governance, and the governance, how you operate with the governance, how much you can straight through, how much you must keep human in the loop. You must tie that with your risk appetite because...
Can you make it like auditable in real time? What the AI agent's doing?
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay.
Absolutely. And that's the minimum expectation that we won't even touch on the regulator part, just your internal audit teams, right? Your first line, second line, and third line of defense, they will expect, right? Observability and auditability is like, it's almost like the number one. It's like, what is the agent doing? Or what did the agent understand from the human? Even from that point onwards, that whole thing needs to be audited. Okay. Because maybe the hallucination is literally from the initial, when they received the instruction, but they misinterpreted.
And I guess so, if we look at like big tech, so I guess historically big tech, they built kind of closed ecosystems. And now financial institutions are being enabled to build their own, right? So I'm just kind of interested what you think is different at the moment between the two? And are banks in a position actually to compete on experience and speed?
Absolutely, but it assumes that the banks are really serious about not treating AI as a tool. I'll give you a very interesting example. I work with a bank customer at the moment. So basically they have I think relatively sophisticated customer self-service channel enabled by large language model, whatnot. But they also have the AI serving the bankers, right? The wealth advisors. But what's super interesting today is the wealth advisor have no idea what the customer have asked the AI about.
Okay.
And the bankers, the wealth advisors, also have no accountability as to what the AI is telling Danny about, the fluctuation of oil prices, the fluctuation of the FX prices, whatnot. And I said to the bank, why not? Right? I mean, shouldn't the human, because what the AI is doing literally is serving their customer. So why isn't the human knowing exactly what is AI telling, right? So that needs to be designed, because the bank has just said, oh, this is the AI team's problem. This is the data team's problem. This is the technology team's problem. And I said, no. What the AI is saying should be vetted, should be trained by the top, for example, sales advisors, right? In this case, I recommended them to say, the top 30% of your highest achievers, they should be vetting through what is the AI talking to the customers about today. And do they think that it can perform at similar level? And the data and the knowledge that both the human and the AI is looking at should be exactly the same, right? Which is basically the customer's data with the bank, right? So banking or other financial institutions absolutely have the opportunity to accelerate. But first of all, they need to allow, right? They need to almost, again, understand, does their risk appetite allow for the collaboration of human and AI, and redesign their ownership and accountability of who owns the successful implementation of AI. And if the answer is still the head of AI or any form of enablement function, I think that direction might be slightly off a little bit. I still think the accountability must go back to the business owner. Everyone else, of course, just need to enable the right process, technology, commercial, finance, etc., to make it happen. So I think it's a fair game, to be honest.
So you're seeing it as more as a kind of level playing field now?
Yes.
As well,
From an enterprise point of view, level playing field. But if I may add, what worries me a little bit is that the ones that know, and this is as an individual, right? The better you are at your job, the more potential you see what AI can do for you. And actually that worries me a little bit, because that will actually, instead of bringing the divide smaller, right, dropping the gap, it's actually increasing, because you've got the really awesome top 10% of humans, right, who are skilled, right? They know exactly what they can do with AI. They know how far they can push AI to its limit. They know when it's hallucinating, so that they can intervene.
And when you say deeply integrated, it's in their workflows, in their businesses.
Basically,
they're using, Claude and things like that
so
to
build
agents and bots.
So these
are the ones.
These are the ones
10%.
that are just, they are riding the rocket. But you've got, many of us, right? Like say the 90%, who are still taking time digesting what they can do, probably like dabbling a little bit. But again, so that means that by the time...
What's your recommendation for the 90%?
First of all, give it a try, right? Now, but of course, I'm not saying be irresponsible, right? Don't tell the AI your credit card password.
Of course,
right? If you have an assistant who can just follow you, be with you 24/7, and let's just assume this person is human. What would you do? How would you work with this person, human person? Now, out of that, then how much can you allow AI to start to step in?
Okay.
Now, I remember first night dinner that we had, one of the speakers sat next to me, and she actually said, Gary, one of the things I use AI for is, I think she used the word emotional companionship.
Yeah.
Because she literally said it was at midnight, there was some work crisis that happened. And she had no one to call, so she literally spoke to the AI and say, hey, I'm about to step into this really intense situation.
What should I do?
How do I calm myself down?
Yeah, okay.
And what should I start with? Mm-hmm. And if you think about it, so normally, would you pick that, do you call your parents? Do you call your better half? Like that, all of a sudden, that relationship or what you allow the AI to help you actually is controlled by you. You but still decide.
Is there a downside there as well? Whereas maybe we would have called somebody before, right? And we would have got that lived experience maybe to get us ready for that situation. We're now relying on all of the shared experience that's online. I guess there's pros and cons.
I think there's pros and cons. Look, to be honest, I think it's very difficult for us to predict, right? I mean, if I sort of link it up to my personal experience, maybe in less than a decade, my children will be out into the workforce, right? Yeah. So these are what I call the AI native generation.
Mine the same, right?
Right.
I have a 10 and a 14-year-old, so it's the same.
So
like 10 years.
I cannot stop them from, because they are exposed. But I think what I can do, I think as a parent or as a manager or as a person who just wants to encourage everyone, because you mentioned what they should do. I say, first of all, accept that it is here. And you're only going to see more of it, right? So just accept that for the time being. So then you go, okay, then you start to go, what do you want it to try, right? And actually, enterprise and individual, I think, is two things. Enterprise, I actually encourage your enterprise to actually go put AI into where it's most painful, actually. Don't shy away from solving the problems that you need to solve for. Don't do like useless POC that even if it's successful, there's no impact to your organization. So focus the AI on your core business.
Yeah.
Right. So equally as an individual, hey, maybe give AI a shot in what's burning a lot of your time today that you believe is at minimal value add. Start from there.
Yeah.
Right. And for me, what's been really good for me is I love reading news from different locations.
Yeah.
So today, AI just helps me digest many of the news sources, and that saves me at least 30 minutes a day.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with that. I'm like, wow, okay, pretty good. So next I'm going to do something else, right? Which is possibly doing some research on behalf, with my kids, and say, and then again, so anything that I think, as long as it's complementary to what problem that you're trying to solve for, I think that is just the right thing to do with AI.
Yeah. For me, it's programming all my nutrition and workouts into it, so I don't have to think about it. Equally, I chat to it, and then coming in on a Wednesday, I'm a little bit tired, and it'll pump out the workout, and you're in and out, and you're not worrying that you've done too much or too little, so that frees me up as well. If we move a little bit back to financial services, I guess for a bank or a fintech that's listening into the podcast today, what would you say is real and people really should be taking notice of? You said you were giving some examples there around focusing on what's core and what's maybe still hype that people don't need to take as much notice of.
Okay, if I look at the most common ask right now, actually 2025 was all about AI for productivity. In the first 4 months of 2026, it's been revenue generation. And there was a very, very clear movement in terms of what the customer is talking to us about. And I thought about it. I thought, what's driving that shift, right? Is because there's a very clear focus now and say, look, the hype, I call it it's BAU. Productivity is BAU because it is a given that you are using AI for productivity. So that's part one. But productivity can only drive ROI so much. So now, and this is where we get to the hard part, revenue generation.
Okay.
So that example that I mentioned between the AI and the banker, that's just one sign of focusing. So how does the productivity actually translate into generation of more revenue?
Yep.
So just like what I mentioned yesterday in my speech is, can we first focus AI on making the pie bigger, as opposed to first of all thinking about the optimization? Because I think if you can solve the revenue generation and the pie is big enough, there's enough players that can be there, then naturally you can take a little bit more time designing your organization to optimize it for what an AI native organization looks like.
And I guess within that design thinking that you're talking about, where do you start? Like, how do you actually maybe start at the end and work backwards, in terms of what that might look like?
Focus on what's making your money today.
Yep.
And make more of it. So I'll just give an example. If one advisor can cover 50 customers today, but they do a very poor job, they can only cover 10, make sure that they can cover the 50 properly with the help of AI.
Okay.
Now that could be a combination of self-service plus serving the human to serve the customer better. So make sure that they are happy, the 50 customers are happy. Then next step you go, can one cover 200? Can one cover 500? And in our case, we're very lucky that we have a wealth management business called the Ant Fortune business, that we moved the dial from 1 to 200 customers to now 1 to 3,000 customers without any degradation in their service quality. In fact, it was better because they are getting more real-time recommendation. They are just getting proactive services that the human alone won't be able to. But it's also allowing the bankers to free up their time and go, hey, actually AI, remember every day, tell my customers about the oil price, because my customer has got a live position tracking the oil options. Whereas previously the human needs to remember, okay, I need to, every day I wake up, turn on my TV, look at the oil price, call Danny. And how many can you call, right? Let's just say. So all of a sudden that viewing the AI as an extension of yourself to allow you to serve and sell and your customers, actually it doesn't.
So it's almost like optimization of the revenue in a way,
that's right?
Yeah.
Because it's actually not a hard thing, but it's the willingness, right? Are you willing, right, to trust you have an extension of yourself? So if you trust a junior banker, why not trust a junior claw, right? Let's just say that. So I think that's where I think it's heading. Productivity won't stop. I think productivity will continue, right? The focus. I think and you got to remember, as revenue base starts to grow, the risk side will start to come in as well. So risk management naturally will kick in. Once you've solved the revenue problem, you need to put robust risk management around. And this is where you start to leverage AI to help you to manage this as you're scaling out the business, as your revenue base is growing bigger. So this three comes hand in hand.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. And if we zoom out a little bit, where do you think it's all going? You mentioned around that kind of 90%, and maybe that 10% accelerates more, or the 90% catches up. And in financial services, where's this playing out? What changes the most? Is it infrastructure? Is it business models? Is it customer experience? Are there winners and losers? Are people going to get left behind? That's a very big question, I know, but interested to get your thoughts.
I would love to see that in the world that we live in, that no one gets left behind, because I think inclusion is something that is what we believe in, and also what I personally believe in, right? I mean, because at the end of the day, everything that we do, I believe it's about adding value to the society. But yes, there are some reality that we can't shy away from, because it comes back to the physical constraint actually. Because if you think about it, the acceleration of AI, and we linked it up with digital services, right? The popularity of that naturally will drive consumption. And if you look at the supply chain, AI needs models. Models needs chips. Chips needs data center. Data center needs power and electricity. And then behind the power and electricity, there's different sources of power, right? So I was just talking to one of my partners out there, And they were mentioning there are already countries in the world, I won't name where, who are restricting the power consumption by data centers. Citizens are discouraging data centers being built near where they live. So that's why we have a belief, and I think you mentioned that we have the tag, right? This is where for my marketing team, they love this. In tokens we trust, if you think about it, tokens is a representation actually of the energy that we're consuming. So we're not just burning token, we are burning power, we are burning natural resources. So if I were to look at it from a sustainable mobility, and what will actually help everyone is one very fundamental thing that we need to help everyone is being very thoughtful in what we use AI for.
Yeah.
So if this task is a simple task, use less tokens to solve it. If it doesn't need AI, don't use AI. There are many things that still doesn't need AI, so don't jam AI for the sake of telling your management, telling yourself that I need to be an AI expert. No, if it works well, if predictive works well, if machine learning works well, if deep learning works well, keep using it. But challenge yourself, have a re-look at everything that you do and say, what can the current generation of generative AI and foundation AI can do? And this is why in a sort of how we're moving from previously fintech, we are actually moving a little bit below that now and looking at, okay, can we as an digital technologies group actually help our customers in an enterprise sense to bring together what I call the best of East and the West? Yeah. Because there's a lot of interest in, well, actually there are tokens from the East, tokens from the West. Some are good at image generation, some are good at multi-language understanding, some are very fast, some are a bit slower, a bit more expensive. So giving our customers more choices allows them to really go, okay, let's just think about what I want to do. Business, right? It's always what you care most about. And then you go and work out, okay, what are the tools? What are the AI that actually needs? So if we can do that, first of all, we will reduce wastage. I don't really want excessive wastage. And I'm just a bit worried that right now there is a lot of wastage because everyone is just throwing the problem. You know, you write really bad questions, right? Like I'll go, Danny, what do you think? And then you'll be like, what do you mean? What do I think? So all of a sudden, that interaction alone is like writing a really bad prompt or a really bad instruction to AI. So actually, this is all design. So if we design it well, we govern it well, we manage the right risk, and you pick the right technology options, and there's a lot of options out there, then naturally AI should be working for you in a positive fashion.
Fantastic. Well, Gary, I've really, really enjoyed the conversation today. I think we covered a lot of ground, and I've certainly learned a lot as well. How can people get in touch with you if they'd like to find out more?
You can look me up on LinkedIn or search and digital technologies. We have a public website, but if you want to just get in touch with myself, LinkedIn is probably the easiest way. I'm also physically in Hong Kong, so if you pass by Hong Kong, give me a shout. I'm more than happy to grab a coffee as well.
Fantastic. Well, Gary, thank you so much for joining me today on the Money 2020 show floor in the podcast booth here. Thanks for listening. We've learned a lot about technology shifting today and how decisions get made and who we trust to make them. And if you'd like to find out more, see our latest episodes and subscribe, please head to theshifttalks.com. Thank you again, Gary.
Thank you, Dan.